toward a spiritual revolution founded on freedom and science. The Search for the Reality of the Unseen World. 7. Abdelmoumin Ahmed. Mikhail Naimi once wrote about the East's backwardness in the field of spiritual research. I do not believe that the East will betray its sublime mission. The great achievement I hope for this steadfast East is that it will become a fortress of the religion that begins with God and ends with God, a religion of genuine brotherhood, selfless fatherhood, and universal love. How strange it is that death inspires greater fear in this East than in any other part of the civilized world. It was this East that proclaimed to humanity long ago the existence of life after death. Can it be that it does not believe what it proclaims? Or that it acts contrary to what it professes? Or that it once proclaimed it and has since regretted doing so? Naimi's words expose a profound paradox. The very East that gave humanity its greatest spiritual revelations has contributed only modestly, in the modern era, to the scientific revolution that has reopened the fundamental questions of consciousness, the human spirit, and life after death. The coming spiritual renaissance cannot be separated from the revolutions of reason and science, fields in which the Middle East has, unfortunately, played only a limited role over the past several centuries. What is commonly known today as the New Age movement, despite its mixture of truth and error, reflects a growing global longing for the recovery of humanity's spiritual dimension. At its core, it represents a revolution in existential consciousness and a renewed search for the meaning of life and the destiny of humankind. This raises an important question: are we truly approaching a new dawn in which the reality of this world and existence itself will be more fully unveiled, and in which religious knowledge will be purified from the distortions that accumulated during long ages of ignorance and intellectual stagnation? The evolution of modern philosophy, the remarkable progress of science, and the increasing interest of many researchers in the study of consciousness, near-death experiences, parapsychology, and the human psyche all point in this direction. Together they invite us to reconsider many inherited assumptions and open the possibility of developing more mature and methodologically rigorous spiritual sciences. Such an intellectual breakthrough, however, can only emerge through the harmonious integration of reason, scientific inquiry, and human experience, both subjective and objective. Here we encounter one of the greatest cultural challenges facing the Middle East: the absence of sufficient individual freedom, a condition that inevitably limits creativity, innovation, and intellectual renewal. In this context, Bertrand Russell observed, "Freedom of thought is the cleansing medicine that purifies the modern mind from superstition and illusion. One of the chief characteristics of the ignorant man is the speed with which he forms his opinions and then regards them as absolute truths." The Islamic world today is therefore in urgent need of intellectual freedom, not as a rebellion against religion, but as an expression of faith in God, confidence in His providence, and a sincere pursuit of human peace, happiness, and stability. According to the Abrahamic scriptures, God created humanity free and patiently accepted the consequences of that freedom, beginning with Satan's rebellion, followed by Adam and Eve's departure from paradise, and all the suffering that has marked human history ever since. This suggests that freedom is not merely a social principle but a fundamental law embedded in the very structure of existence. It is one of the highest principles governing the relationship between God and humanity. Freedom, however, cannot exist without responsibility. Responsibility gives freedom its true moral meaning. The tragedies that have afflicted the world throughout history have not been caused by freedom itself, but by the abandonment of responsibility. According to both the Torah and the Quran, Satan was the first to renounce his responsibility, followed by Eve and then Adam, thereby initiating humanity's departure from the divine order. If we read this sacred narrative through a renewed existential lens, we may understand Satan's abandonment of his position and responsibility as the event that disrupted the harmony of the spiritual order, the impairment of the fullness of existential consciousness in human being, giving rise to spiritual ignorance, conflict, hostility, and the fragmentation of humanity through the multiplicity of sources of knowledge about the invisible existence. The Quran likewise presents humanity's descent to earth as the beginning of enmity and conflict. It traces this condition to the division of human allegiance between the one true Lord, God, and the false Lord, Satan. This divided loyalty became the source of human misery and the principal obstacle to establishing lasting peace on earth. Whenever the source of spiritual guidance becomes divided, human beings lose their inner harmony, and when their relationship with God becomes disordered, so too do their relationships with themselves, with one another, and with the entire universe. Peace, therefore, is far more than the mere absence of war. It is the natural fruit of rightly ordered relationships, between humanity and God, between the individual and the self, between people, one another, and ultimately between the material and the spiritual dimensions of existence. Freedom is the essential soil in which sound thinking grows. Yet history repeatedly shows that genuinely new ideas are seldom welcomed by their own generation, for they often arrive before their time, as though they were messages sent from the future. The ideas rejected today frequently become tomorrow's accepted truths. From this perspective, the vision of modern spiritual science presented here is an attempt to anticipate the intellectual horizons of the future. Many may dismiss these ideas today, but rejection alone cannot invalidate ideas grounded in careful inquiry and sincere investigation. The truly free thinker resembles a pioneer who perceives realities hidden from his contemporaries and therefore lives as a stranger among his own generation until a later age comes to appreciate his vision. This is perhaps what Jesus Christ meant when he declared, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own country." To this we may add, "nor in his own time."